So if you have been trying to manifest something using a manifestation technique or multiple manifestation techniques, and no matter how hard you try, your manifestation still isn't coming through and it's getting frustrating now, you're doubting and so on, then today's manifestation success story is going to be extremely helpful. Basically, what I'm going to be sharing today is about how to shift the energy, your self-concept, and melt away the resistance so that you can see the results flood in from what you have been putting out there into the universe. So I'm delighted to share that today's manifestation success story actually is extremely close to home. It's my parents. So it basically took 20 months for my parents to manifest what I'm going to share with you. And in the last month of that 20-month period, they shifted something and then it finally came through. So I'll track back, share with you the story, and share with you what they changed to get it to finally fall into place. So we're talking about my parents manifesting moving to Spain, and not just moving to Spain, but buying the house of their dreams, selling their property in the UK first in order to do that. And then they had a very specific list of things that they wanted their new house to be. They wanted it to be, in their words, in the action, right? So close to shops and conveniences and near the beach and that kind of thing. Due to the nature of where we live, that sort of meant that they were looking at apartments as opposed to villas, because the villas are kind of further away in the hills. You have to drive to things, whereas they wanted to be able to be super close to a supermarket so they can literally walk there, thinking ahead to the future, right? So first great thing they did was they were very clear from day one of what they wanted and what they didn't want. Maybe not from day one, but within the first phase of them looking, they were able to get more clarity. By looking at various different things, they got clearer on what they didn't want as well as on what they did want. We actually found them a place that ticked every single box, and it was just the absolute place of their dreams. But the sticking point was that they hadn't yet sold their house in the UK. And in Spain, if you're paying in cash for a house, you need to have the cash up front in order to buy the house. What you can do in the UK, which I think is quite unusual, is you can just make a verbal offer. You can say, "Hi, we'd like to buy your house, please." And you don't have to put any money down in that moment to reserve the house and take it off the market. Whereas in Spain, and this makes quite logical sense, if you want a house, you've got to be able to put down at least a 10% deposit right there and then. And then when you put down that deposit, you have to be able to guarantee that you're going to pay the other 90% within like a month later after that or something like that. And if you don't, then you lose your deposit, right? So it is all very much like you have to really commit. But my parents weren't in the position to commit to this new house in Spain yet because they hadn't sold their house in the UK. So this is where it started to get a bit stressful. They found the place of their dreams almost too early because they weren't able to commit to it until their house had sold. And the process of selling their house in the UK just seemed to drag on and on and on. They would have people who would make offers and then drop out because, as I said, in the UK, you can make an offer and drop out and you haven't lost anything. They had troubles and stresses with solicitors who were taking months upon months upon months to just approve one little bit of paperwork. People who were being pedantic about various different clauses and loopholes. It's just like, you can feel the energy, right? It was overwhelmingly stressful. Naturally, it makes you feel sort of like desperate and impatient and short of time when you want something to happen quickly and it seems everything around you and the whole entire process is just dragging itself along. And by the way, we are scripting about this. I'm visualizing it for them. I think I wrote 3 or 4 different scripting letters, a paragraph about my parents. They've bought their dream house and they've moved to Spain and they're happy and we're well and we're spending so much more quality time together and our relationship is in a really good place and all of this wonderful stuff. I'm scripting about it and they're open to all of this stuff as well. I think they scripted about it too. But every day, the energy still was very stressed and filled with worry. And I feel for my parents, like it was such a long period of stress for them. Then their dream house fell through. Somebody else bought it, which was a big blow. It felt very disappointing. They were heartbroken. So that happened, and then I think a couple of months went by and we were still trying to find a place that was as good. And then one day, as if by magic, my mum ended up finding on like the 4th page of an estate agent's website a place that looked really, really similar to the dream place that had been bought by somebody else. Upon further investigation, it turned out that this new place that my mum had just found was in the same apartment complex, also on the top floor, another penthouse apartment. So it ticked all of those boxes and was architecturally identical to the one that had been sold, just like the other side of the building, so like symmetrically the opposite, right? So instead of getting mountain views, they would get sea views. And the quality of this property, the second property, was actually, it was in better condition than the first one that they'd looked at. So we were like, ooh, hang on a second. One door closes and a window opens, like maybe you were being led to this one the whole time. So it gets all exciting again, but there was still this energy of stress and resistance and fear because the house in the UK was still not selling. Imagine now months and months and months of this go by, and they're wishing and hoping and praying that this second new dream property doesn't get bought by somebody else, because it was like the nicest one in this area in our opinion as well. There was that fear, there was that worry that it could be snapped up at any moment, which is a difficult kind of thing to deal with when you're trying to feel as calm and as high vibrational as possible about it. So we were all trying to kind of not think about it and ignore it and think positively about the house in England being sold. And then my parents, who are always into personal development, by the way, they're brilliant. They're up for absolutely anything and everything when it comes to meditations. You know, they've always been open-minded to all kinds of personal development. So one day they stumbled across the idea of ask-formations, I think they're called, where you say things like, why is it that everything worked out so well for us? Why is it that our house in the UK sold so quickly? Why is it that we got our dream house in Spain? And they called me on the phone and they said, oh, we've been doing these why style affirmations recently and it's been really working for us. It's been really helping how we feel, and things are moving really quickly with the solicitors now. Now, what I'll say is that when they told me this about the why, for me, the technique didn't resonate as much, because I felt like if I were to ask my brain questions like, why is it? My brain then wants to look for an answer to that why question and so on. But the reason why they liked it is because when they said these why questions, ultimately it was helping them to transport themselves into the reality where the wish was already fulfilled, where it was done, rather than being in a state of feeling very much like it's not happening. They basically shifted from living in their undesired reality where things were stuck, where things were slow, where things weren't moving, where things felt out of their control. And by using this style of why affirmations, why is it that it all worked out so well? Why is it that we've now got our house in Spain? That worked for them to transport themselves into the reality where it was already done, mentally and emotionally and energetically. So when they told me this, I was happy for them, and I said, for some reason for me that wording doesn't really work, but I get why it works for you, because essentially it's helping you to tap into Neville Goddard's concept of living in the wish fulfilled. So then I told them a bit more about Neville Goddard, and it kind of added even more confirmation to what they were doing. And I also shared with them the type of wording that works for me. So the type of wording that works for me is, isn't it wonderful that our house sold in the UK? Isn't it wonderful that we now own that property that we dreamt of so many months? You know, remember when it used to be a struggle and now it's done. It's happened. What a relief. So again, different words, different way of phrasing things, but essentially the objective of how you feel, the objective of feeling like it's done, of living in the wish fulfilled is the same. So what I want to emphasize now is choose what resonates with you. Choose what kind of wording resonates with you, whether it's the why questions, whether it's the isn't it wonderful now that it's happened type of wording, whether it's Bob Proctor's style of saying, I'm so happy and grateful now that da 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 da. There are multiple ways of wording it, and I empower you to take your pick, to try them out for size and feel which one works best for you, which one helps you to feel that weight lift, that relief in your body, that joy, that confidence, that power that floods in when you shift from not having it and from really feeling like it's not happening to feeling like it's done, to feeling like you have it, to becoming that version of you in your imagination, in your body, where what you want is done already. Isn't it wonderful? So yes, to wrap up this story, there is a happy ending, and that is the solicitors finally, miraculously started to move at a normal human pace all of a sudden. They were no longer making excuses and promising that it would be done by the end of the week, and then another week would go by, and then another week, and another week, and another week, and all of a sudden they were just doing it. And then before you know it, mum and dad's house sold, it completed. They were able also, it was like time was stretching out for them in terms of the new house in Spain. The new house in Spain wasn't sold to anyone else. It was still just somehow waiting for them. I think the ultimate dream apartment that they found was unsold for about a year, which is just bonkers to think of considering it's such a gem. So all of the stars aligned, and it was almost like maybe this house was always meant for them, but there was this missing piece that needed to fall into place, and that was they needed to shift their energy from feeling totally like it wasn't theirs yet and they didn't have it and filled with worry. You know, it's so understandable, it's so natural that we feel like that, but we're having a conversation right now about manifestation and how to override that natural human instinct of being so focused on your current circumstances and then feeling stuck in them and manifesting more of them because your energy is creating even more of that, intercepting that, overriding that, taking back control and deciding to shift your vibration, to shift your energy, to shift the way you feel even before the results have happened, to feel like they have happened now. In so doing, letting go of the low vibrational energy, letting go of the resistance, and matching up with the vibration of having it now. So it all eventually fell into place, and relatively quick. We could hardly believe it after 20 months of things moving at a glacial pace, things moving at a slug's pace. It all just happened so quickly. And then it was done. And then next thing you know, they were flying out to Spain and organizing the boxes to be moved from the UK to Spain. It just all suddenly was all systems go. And now they are living happily ever after in their beautiful dream home in Spain. So much daylight flows in through their windows. They can walk down to their supermarket. They have been going for swims in their pool every morning, and they just look so well. I can just see how much more well they are. Like their stress levels have gone down. You can literally see that they no longer have that stress, inflammation in their bodies. Oh, it's really good. It's really, really good. So I hope you enjoyed this story and we as a family learned lots of lessons from it, so I wanted to share the story with you. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is, what you learned from my family's recent success story. If you're watching with us on YouTube, make sure to give us a big thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button and ring my bell so that you never miss another video. And if you're listening with us on podcasts, thank you so much for listening. Feel free to hit follow, leave a 5-star review, and share this story with anyone that it might help or inspire. Until next time, bye.